What are you doing in there? Come on, gotta get out. Little goober. Okay, welcome everyone to this progress video. I picked myself up a Fluval Flex 32.5 gallon fish tank with a stand, and we're gonna do monthly updates and let you know what works and what doesn't. So here's a stand. It's where it's going in a little corner. So one of the things that you got to think about when you're doing this is give yourself enough room to get behind, because here's where the edge of the tank is going to be on the stand. And you're going to have to get behind here. You're going to have to be able to get a foot or so behind here to be able to do your maintenance out the back. So give yourself plenty of room. So another little hack that I did, this flugel comes with a little mat that you can roll out. It goes across top. So put yourself some tape and fold it up, right? A little bit off the edges, okay? You can do that in the four corners, right? So that way when you roll your mat out and you put your tank on top of the mat, it's not sliding all over the place. So here it is with the mat on, and as you can tell, it's like ever so slightly close to the edge. So you should be able to get a little bit of overlap on your entire lip. And then we'll come back in with a couple more hacks, and we'll go from there. Okay, so another hack I do for my stand is I'll go ahead and put some saran wrap down, hang over a little bit off the edge, front, back, sides, so that way when you have your salt crust up on your edges or from drips, it doesn't seep into your wood and hopefully drains off somewhere else. Okay, so you get your tank up on your stand, and if you can see, you have a little bit of play here, maybe 1/4 of an inch, maybe less, pretty much all the way around. And then get your level off. Okay, so the next part of this setup is we're going to go ahead and install the Fluval return pump into the all-in-one sump in the back. So you got 3 chambers. Actually, you got 5, but there's these little triangle type ones. They're better for heaters and stuff. There's your first chamber for your medium, and then this chamber will be for the heater and the protein skimmer if you get one. And then this one for the second media that you put in there. So we're going to put it in this one, and what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to wet down the bottom so that the suction cups stick. Okay, so here's a little hack for you. So as you can see, this pump that comes with the tank doesn't fit that way. So you've got to adjust this screw so that your flow matches your out. The best way to put this is with the cord to the left, so that way you can tuck this underneath the shelf. So we wet it down, run this down in there, push it over as far as it can go, so that way the tube is right up against. Okay. Give it a little push down so it locks it in. One thing you don't want to do is make sure it's not touching, because it'll vibrate and make a bunch of noise and drive you nuts. So get that in the place you want it to be in. And there you go. Okay. We're not touching any glass. We're not touching any plastic. And we'll come in and feed the diffuser through there. Okay, so it comes with a diffuser. Okay. It doesn't matter which way you put it because you can adjust the angles and everything. What you want to do is screw it into here, which screws into your flow coming out of your outtake pump. Okay. All right, so we've got our diffuser in. Okay, nice and sturdy. So it's flexible where you can spin it around. See, I'm spinning on the nut. I've got to tighten that up a little better. So, it doesn't have to be too tight because, remember, this is plastic threading and it will strip on you. So once you get to that point, you just be careful, and now you can make your adjustments. Up, down, you can either go across the water to get some surface movement or down to the corners. And you can actually put a space bar, take this off and put a space bar on where it gives you more directional flows. But for now, this is what came with it. We're going to go with it. And so at this point now, I'm ready to put water in it. So I'm going to put water in it, and we're just going to run it and test it, make sure everything's working, make sure it doesn't leak. We don't want to put salt water in, then we find out it's leaking or something. We've wasted money. So we're just going to go with straight water. Let it probably run a day and start the break-in process. Okay, so we got it filled with water. And as you can see by the movement on the surface, that the pump's working. Seeing it in action now, I think I might upgrade it because it's kind of soft to the feel, but we'll see. You know what I mean? We'll worry about upgrades when the times come. So then what I'm going to do is now I'm going to put in this media. You get two of these media filter boxes that fit right in here in the back. One's the porcelain type, and then there's the carbon. I'm going to take them both out because I don't need them right now, and we're going to go ahead and insert into the chamber so that way some kind of filtration is going on, and we'll get the sand in tomorrow. So far, so good. No leaks. Everything's working good as ordered. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so here we are. I took the filter bags out, and I'm just going to go ahead and drop it in, just so that. And he's got these neat little handles. These are good to use, but I'm going to do a hack on that later. We're going to modify this. So completely submerge them. Okay. Get that water soaked up in there. I'm not going to do too much more because my level where I came in is pretty high. You can probably see it better from this side. There's a honeycomb, 3 inches probably, and I probably got a 1/2 inch from the top, but it's going to run for a few days, and it's going to have some evaporation. That's why the other reason why I haven't put the salt in or anything like that, because I just want to make sure it runs okay. So far, so good. No leaks. Nothing's broken. The pump and the flow is doing okay. So Smokey's curious about it. He can't wait to get fishing. So now all I'm going to do is put the cover on, and as we move along and progress, we'll do all these updates. Tomorrow I'm going to probably throw in the sand. and then start the cycle so I can get ready for fish. Okay, so we got the lid on. A couple things I wanted to say about this is, you got to remember that this is a what they call a rimless tank. So you got to be real careful when you come to, putting this down and everything. Make sure it sets right. So this one has a little feeder door, and it has this removable section in the back. Okay, this is so when you go ahead and decide that you want to go with the protein skimmer, which is going to stick out, a few inches over the top of the light. This is a section where you can twist it off, cut it out. So I don't have it yet. It's on the way. So for right now, we're just going to leave it be. But this will be the eventual look where it'll be open on the protein skimmer section, the middle section. And for the time being, we'll just pop this guy back in place and plug it in and just let it run. I can adjust the light settings later. There is a mobile app that you can adjust all your light settings and all that. But for right now, we're just going to run it. Okay, so I'm going to show you another hack for the light. Okay, so here's your light cord coming out, right? Run it into the groove. That's what they're made for. Okay, that's what they're made for. Stick it right in the groove. Okay, run it right down and around. Just slightly put your finger on it. It's not going to do no harm. When you get to the end, give yourself a little extra, okay, and tuck it right in there. Okay, flatten it out, and then you won't have any interference with your wire coming out the back down to your plug. Okay, there it is. Just run that wire right through there. That's what it's made for. Okay? Okay, one last hack for a setup. So the light plugs into a transformer. Okay, so you have this connection going into here. So you've got to have your cord long enough to go down to sit the transformer on a shelf. Otherwise, it's going to be yanking on that, and you don't want that, okay? You're just asking for trouble. So make sure you have the cord extended far enough, and you can put the light transformer on a shelf. Okay, so let's take a look at our setup. Pretty bright light. As you can see, it's even shining down through the front onto the floor. So, yeah, pretty good light. The spectrum looks blue, but it actually is a more looking like a clear white daylight. There's an app you can download, a Fluval Light app, and I'll probably do that tomorrow, mess around with that tomorrow. But for right now, I'm just going to let it run for overnight. See what happens in the morning. Another hack I did right before we get started putting the fish in, trying to get the tank cycled out, is I'm going to be coming back in and adding a protein skimmer into this space, the middle chamber. So all I've done for right now, management-wise for my cables, is I just threw a bread tie on real tight that held them out in the back, because we're going to have to make some adjustments on how all these wires are going to come out the back. I believe this, if we'll look at up in here, I believe the setup is done so that you can run your wires wherever they are around the edge and then out this way. Same thing on the other side, around the edge and out this way. So we're about 1 week in on the 32.5 gallon Fluval Flex marine tank. Okay, another thing you want to consider when you're setting up before you start going crazy putting stuff in is your water line. So I'm going to show you a little something that happens. Hopefully you can see this on the video. Is if you got that water way up on top of the honeycomb, and mine's about halfway between the full honeycomb. So there's a full honeycomb, about a little halfway, a little more. Here's what happens. Okay, you're not going to get much drip on there. Okay, if any. And then the other part to that is you don't get water splash up on your light, so you don't have to clean your light every day or two. So make sure you have a good adjustment with your water line. And I'll check it again once my pumps and everything start up. May have to adjust the pumps or may have to lower the water line. We'll see where that goes once we get up and running. Okay, so we're going to do the end of week 1 update. Show you a few things that's going on. So I created my aquascape, sticking pretty much to the 1/3 method for right now, because I want to grow into the scape. So I got my sand in, I got my aquascape in, I got 1 piece of dry rock and a few pieces of live rock. I went and got a upgrade on the thermometer. I'll tell you about that later. Threw in a power head. So right now, the only thing that's running is the lights and the heater, because I chemically seeded the tank yesterday. So we're going to give it a couple of days, and then we're going to turn on the return pump only, leave the heater on, leave the lights on for a few days, get the cycle up and running. And that'll be first day of week 2. Saturday, we're going to run the filter because it's been sitting not running for a couple of days, so that way when I seeded it right into the sand and the rock, and we'll give it a couple of days to get up and running. So the other thing I did was I put some knobs on my cabinet doors, and then I went and installed my power stick, ran it up the back, used an 8-foot cord. Some other things I guess I should show you. I went and go out and invest in a pair of rubber tongs. You're going to, appreciate it later on. I got myself a nice long scrubber, nice long handle scrubber. Okay. Test kit, you can get your own test kit. I got a skilter, or I should say a mini protein skimmer, and we'll talk about that later. One other thing I did was on my shelving, I put the transformer for the light on the shelf above everything, okay? Now in the back, what I did while we're cycling, I'm running empty chambers, and let me give you another thing. So they tell you about this heater you should get. I'll tell you what, so here's my finger, and the space on that heater is about as big as your finger, or less, okay? So when you go buy a heater, you're gonna need to get something that's either gonna fit in there, or you're gonna have to put it on the outside of your inside of your tank on the outside, like I've done. I upgraded to one with a case, 300 watts. And I'll give you the info when I go on that later. So all I got is floss in here, waiting, we're going to start the cycle of the tank. So I got nothing in the 3rd chamber and nothing in the other heater chamber except for a temperature gauge, which I ran down into the tank. You can see right there, okay? So right now, it's running a little cold. We're going to run about 78, so 76, 80 is a good range. Another hack I did was, and I'm going to come back and change the tape, but I put tape on the back of the cover because the cover doesn't come with any way to hold it open. So you're going to have to get some little stick stands to support your cover while you're doing your maintenance. Otherwise, you're going to have to take the whole thing off, and then you don't have any light to see anything while you're doing maintenance on your tank. So we'll kick it back up in a few days. When we go buy our fish, we're going to get our first fish on Sunday afternoon. That'll be like a 3-day window, give or take, to get the cycle started, and we'll go from there.